The following podcast will contain spoilers and explicit language. You've been warned. Connor?
Yes, Steve.
You know, in some ways, you're far superior to my Cocker Spaniel.
Thank you, Steve.
Connor, I'd like to welcome you and everyone watching at home back to Radio Rialto. For those watching at home, this will be dropping just after the Dumb and Dumber episode. But we have recorded, like 15 different things since?
I'd say 15 to 20 different things since.
In the 18 months that we've been. Anyway, this is our fucking Christmas special.
Merry holidays.
This is the Happy Chrysler. This was my stupid idea. Because we'll talk about it. I thought it'd be fun. To do something Christmassy. So today we're doing another double feature. We're a classic Radio Rialto style. We're bringing it all the way back to the beginning. We are doing a double feature on the motion pictures White Christmas from the year of our Lord, Connor.
Oh fuck! 1957.
You're so close. I'm going to give you a second guess. You have the correct decade.
Is it 59?
No, you're going in the other. It's 1954.
Okay. Oh, okay.
It is the highest grossing film of 1954, if you can believe it.
I can believe that, looking at the 54s. I said 57 because I've been watching a lot of stuff about West Side Story.
And then a different type of Christmas musical, Anna and the Apocalypse from the year of our Lord. Connor?
2017.
Yes. I thought it was earlier. I thought it came out when we were in high school, but it was freshman year of college. I remember when it premiered at Fantastic Fest, but we'll talk about that later. Connor, what is your history with Christmas?
Oh, it's been around longer than I have, surprisingly.
Yes.
I've actually done it every year. It's kind of become a tradition of mine. Ironically, yeah.
Christmas?
Yeah.
You were an early adopter of Christmas?
I was an early adopter. I've been doing it since I was born.
Yeah.
Like, I was like 3 months old, we were doing Christmas already. It's pretty crazy.
See, I had to wait almost an entire year, because I'm a January baby.
You were 11-month Christmaser.
Yeah, I was.
I was an early adopter.
I really had some extra perspective on life when I finally got to my Christmas.
That's true. You already knew Santa wasn't real by the time Christmas came around.
What are you talking about?
He's real in our hearts.
You know what I mean. What is it like? Do you have any fond Christmas memories? Any Christmas tree? I know one very specific thing about you and Christmas.
Do you?
The evergreen tree.
Oh yeah, well the evergreen tree, which I'm sad is gone. We got a new real tree this year. But anyway, yeah, I mean everyone likes Christmas.
No, explain what the evergreen tree is to people watching at home.
Okay, so for years, my family we got a fake Christmas tree one year, and we just got lazy. We didn't take it down.
Yeah.
And we ended up keeping up that same tree for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a part of my life. In the video I made to get into film school, you can see the Christmas tree in it.
Yeah.
It's in the background.
Most people, when you hear we leave the Christmas tree up all year round, would make them think, oh, you guys are like really intense about Christmas, when in reality, just pure laziness.
It's pure laziness that evolved into something sweet and a tradition.
And like a very elaborate bit, which is very on brand for you.
Yes, it is, yeah.
Just a very high commitment bit.
It's great. I want to do it like moving on when I'm like living by myself. I want to keep the tree up all year.
Yeah.
My girlfriend will never allow that, but it's something I would like to do.
Did you have any fond memories? Were you a Christmas freak as a kid?
No, not really. I mean, I liked Christmas, but it wasn't like a huge deal for me by any means.
That's interesting, because I feel, no offense, but you seem like the type of person who would be really into Christmas.
No, I get that 100%. I'm just not. Christmas is great. I like Christmas, but I don't like...
No.
I'm not like making sure I get the Starbucks holiday cups and like wearing my Santa hat and my sweater. Yeah. The thing is, I think you think I love Christmas because I wear Christmas shit all year long just 'cause I like my Christmas sweater.
Well, I guess. I just kind of think of that as like a sweater, though. Because it has like reindeer, but to me that's just kind of wintry.
Exactly. Yeah. I see. I think it's wintry too.
It does. You have two very distinct Kevin McAllister sweaters.
I do. Yes.
You have the plain red one, which is the true Kevin McAllister, and then you have the elaborate sort of patterned one, which you should have worn for this.
I ironically, Steve, I wore it last night, so it's dirty.
But like, were there any? Because when I came up with this idea, it was like we should each do a Christmas movie that we love. Because that's the thing. Like when I was a kid, I was really into Christmas. I was a kid. I like. God, not to psychoanalyze myself. I'm very big on like repeated behaviors. I like doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I got really into like traditions. If there was a tradition, I really like honed in on tradition. So I'm a materialistic son of a bitch. So I was all about Christmas, especially because like this time of year, like my birthday is like just shy of a month after Christmas. So like as a kid, this was really my like season, because like a month away is just far enough to get like two prime presents, present giving days. Whereas my dad, whose birthday is December 23rd, like he just gets screwed every year because it all just get lumped into like one present day. And even then, like that's kind of iffy as you get older. So yeah, I was a Christmas freak, and also as a kid who loved movies, like I just consumed Christmas movies like a maniac. So when I suggested this idea, knowing you, a fellow movie freak, I would assume that you would have a plethora of Christmas movies that you're really enthusiastic about, only to find out crickets. What is the why are there not these like?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe it's because I became a movie person like kind of later in life. Like later in life, I say it's like I was 10 as opposed to like, 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Ironically, I think this calendar year I watched most Christmas films out of any other year I've been alive.
Interesting.
Just because they live with my girlfriend and spending more time with my folks. Because when you asked me, only 3 things came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
It was this movie, we're going to talk about End of the Apocalypse, but I thought I liked a lot more. Daddy's
you did
Home
like
2.
it when you watched it.
I did. Yeah, in 2019 I liked it a lot more. Daddy's Home 2 and Grandma Got Over by a Reindeer.
Which wouldn't be in contention because it's an hour-long made-for-TV special.
Yeah, but those are the 3 things I think of when I think Christmas movies.
Interesting. Yeah. Whereas me, every year, like, I have, like, a checklist. I'm like, what are the major ones that I'm missing? And now I've seen, like, most of the major ones. I'm now checking off, like, weird, obscure shit. Yeah, especially because for me, like, a lot of my love for classic cinema, which we'll talk about with my pick, White Christmas, really comes from Christmas movies. Because the 2 first black and white movies I ever saw were the 1938 MGM version of A Christmas Carol starring Reginald Owen, and It's a Wonderful Life, which were 2 movies that I chose to watch out of my own volition as like an 8 and 9-year-old, and my mother and father were very confused by that. But it was just like, with A Christmas Carol, it was like, well, I know A Christmas Carol, even as an 8-year-old. Like, I know the story well. And it was like, I was flipping through the channels, and I hit TCM, and it happened to be on TV. And I watched it, and I'm like, black and white movie is pretty good. And then my brother did stage crew for, like, the middle school plays. And he would do, like, the lights. And one of the plays they did was It's a Wonderful Life. So I saw a middle school play version of It's a Wonderful Life first in like late October. And then, so when come Christmas came around, I was like, I want to watch the movie, and I watched It's a Wonderful Life. So like like my gateway drug into my like the horizons of possible films that I could watch was Christmas. Which I feel like is a part of the reason, like when, like around this time of year, I'm a huge Turner Classic Movies fan in general, and I have a particular fondness for like this type of like pre-1955 era of Christmas movies, like your Miracle on 34th Streets, your Christmas in Connecticut, which was my other big choice, and I gave Connor an option between this and White Christmas, and he picked White Christmas. And it's around this time of year that, like, on top of Christmas movies, like, I just want to be watching, like, 30s screwball comedies. There's something about December that just feels very classic Hollywood to me. And yeah, I was a Christmas freak that like I had this list that was like I gotta watch each of these movies once. Like I was all in on like the ABC Family 25 Days of Christmas special. Like we talk about the Cartoon Network slate of Christmas content programming, which Grandma got run over by the reindeer was on heavy rotation. So like that terrible Casper Bah Humduck, the Looney Tunes Christmas Carol. Do you remember
Frosty?
Yeah, I was just about to say the new Frosty. About to say the new Frosty, where it was like a reboot, and it was like the kids of the original kids.
Yeah.
Olive the other reindeer, which there's a joke. They make that same joke, but it's not a reference to the special in Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was a Christmas freak, and then as I've gotten older, these past like 2 or 3 years especially, I've been very Scroogey.
Yeah.
Just when you get older, the hubbub of Christmas sort of is exhausting.
Yeah.
But I have at least like 3 good days in December where I'm in the spirit. Anyway, I like Christmas movies. I wanted to talk about Christmas movies. I thought this would be fun. Should we just get into it?
Yeah.
I'm going to take off this fucking hat because my headphones don't fit. So anyway, White Christmas from 1954. We're talking 2 musicals. It's kind of cheeky. It's kind of cute. Connor, what's your history with White Christmas?
So I think, well, obviously I've heard the song my entire life.
Yeah, but the best-selling song of all time.
Yeah. I think it was roughly 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. I was in my choir classroom. It was the day before Christmas break. Andrew just brought on a movie for us, and it was White Christmas. So
so you've seen like at least part of it.
I've seen the first they're up until the train 7 years ago.
Interesting. The least Christmassy part of it.
Yeah.
With the exception of the beginning.
I've been meaning to watch it since those times 7 years ago. So when you gave the opportunity, I was like, yeah, I'll watch White Christmas.
Yeah. Plus, it's weirdly, because Netflix does not have many movies pre-1960. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, they must have made some insane deal with Paramount. Because it's been on Netflix since we were sophomores in high school, and it's never left. And it's there year round. You could watch White Christmas anytime. It's not going anywhere. It's one of the few constants that is not a Netflix-owned thing. Because that's where I saw it for the first time. And then, a year later, I got this very nice Blu-ray. So that was my experience. I saw White Christmas for the first time in high school. Going through that thing was there's a few major gaps I have in my Christmas movies, especially pre-1980 something. Because the things that are on heavy syndication now, it's all your Home Alones, your Scrooge with Bill Murray, your Elfs, your Polar Expresses, it's the Die Hards. It's all
Christmas Vacation.
Christmas Vacation. So that was the stuff I was really raised on, and basically A Christmas Story onward, 1983 onward. And then anything older, I had to go back. So there's no one not to derail back to the Christmas tradition. There's no, because I feel like Charlene would have one that she would be really into.
I mean, we would watch the Rankin Bass and Grinch stuff.
Yeah.
Not a full in Christmas Shoes. Oh, I try to avoid watching Christmas Shoes as much as I can.
The Hallmark, which is its own brand of type of Christmas movie.
My dad loves Christmas Vacation, which I watched that for the first time this year.
See, that was one of my favorites as a middle schooler, high schooler. That's one of my go-tos.
Yeah, we just didn't watch many Christmas movies.
Yeah, because it's really interesting because there are some the phrase that every movie is somebody's favorite movie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which has some inkling of truth. I think that's 10 times more true to Christmas movies in particular. There's something about because these movies get ingrained as part of traditions and families, that there are these movies that are canonical, the definitive Christmas movie in one household, that are just what the fuck is that bullshit in another, and there's some overlap in terms of like top tens, but there's not a ton of overlap in like the definitive one, which is one of those things where it's like I'll like over the past couple of years when I've been filling in my gaps and I watch something like It Happened on Fifth Avenue and I'm like, this movie is totally innocuous. It's like the epitome of like a straight down the middle 3-star movie. But I get if you have watched this every year on television since you were 5, why this would become such a beloved classic. Because it has that evergreen, like they're going to come back to it year after year after year, and it's tied with these.
Which, ironically, I think mine is Daddy's Home too.
Which isn't even that old. And how many times have you actually seen it?
Oh, I see Daddy's Home too like 4 or 5 times already.
All right, yeah.
I love Dad. That is a movie I can watch year round.
No, I saw, yeah, because it's like, it takes place at Christmas.
Christmassy, but not really Christmassy, yeah.
It's not really Christmassy. It might as well be a Thanksgiving movie.
Other than like the manger scene, it's in the cutting down the giant tree. It's not really like a Christmas movie at all.
Yeah. It's really like a log cabin vacation movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, so White Christmas is a movie I saw for the first time in high school, and I'm like, fun musical, good numbers. Nice Technicolor. And it's one of those, like, perfect, like, it's so souffle-like. It's so light and fluffy and just entertaining that it's become a Christmas favorite for me just because I can just have it on the background and I'm like, I'm wrapping presents and I'm like, oh, they're doing snow, I'll watch this. All right, I can go back and I can do this. And it's just like, it is this perfect little trifle of a movie.
Yeah.
I don't consider it to be one of the great movie musicals by any stretch, but it's just like, it's seasonally appropriate, it's got good numbers, and the dialogue bits in between are just engaging enough.
Yeah, very good vibes.
Oh, it's a great vibe movie.
Yeah.
It was like last year when I was doing do you remember that day where the 2-day stretch where I was just doing a ton of shit on Photoshop?
Oh, yeah,
and I logged
I know.
like 6 things on Letterboxd.
I looked at your Letterboxd and White Christmas,
Yeah.
saw that was one of them, yeah.
Yeah. It was like I don't need to actively watch this because I've seen it so many times, and it's just like I can just follow along with the dialogue and the music, and I know exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where it was like, because I've seen this a lot more than Christmas in Connecticut, that at first I was bummed that you had picked it, and then within like 10 minutes in, I was just like, oh, this is just a warm blanket. Mm-hmm. There's just something very nice about a movie that I'm just so familiar with, backwards and forwards. So yeah, do we want to go down the castle? Opening thoughts? Do you have any thoughts?
The movie has impeccable vibes.
Yeah.
I have 2 positives. It's
Only
impeccable
2.
vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Technicolor, baby. You can't get any better. Nothing
gorgeous.
like it.
This movie's
Nothing like
gorgeous.
it. It's such a pretty movie.
It's gorgeous. It is like the sets, and it's just like, it is just peak like Hollywood studio old school filmmaking.
Yeah, I didn't love the movie. The vibes was its kind of lifeboat for me. Sadly, I think it's that I wasn't really raised on them. These kind of like older classical Hollywood musicals don't do much for me at the end of the day, which is the bummer. And it's weird considering I like La La Land, which is kind of like the bastardization of that almost a little bit.
Well, no, it's so worshipful to this style of thing.
Yeah.
It's so it's trying to ape it stylistically so much, and in some ways it's successful, and in other ways it's not. Yeah, I didn't expect you to love this. It's fun though.
I like both these movies about the same level. Mm-hmm. But, like, obviously, White Christmas is better than Anna and the Apocalypse. But, like, I had about the same good time in between.
Yeah. But would you agree that this is a type of movie? Because when I first saw it, I was just like, yeah, totally fine. It's 3.5 all the way through.
Yes.
But if this just played every year...
Oh, yeah. It's very easily background movie. Yeah, entirely.
But it's just like, it's just endearing enough.
Yes.
Which is kind of what you need from a Christmas movie.
Yeah. I like all 4 of them. I like some of the numbers more than others.
Yeah.
But it's perfectly innocuous, like you said. It's sugary. I could just put it on whenever and just like do something and like have it on in the background.
Yeah.
It's perfect for that, yeah.
Yeah. Let's just go down the cast list real quick, because it's not that many people. First off, the myth himself, Bing Crosby, who weirdly was like one of the biggest movie stars in the world at this time. Like, he was already an Oscar winner. Like, his legacy is mostly the music, for good reason. He is one of the great crooners. He has an incredible voice. And his movies, like, despite being a really big box office hit, not many of his movies have lasted in the same way as some of the other, like Dean Martin was a huge movie star, and like a lot of his comedies with Jerry Lewis have lived on. Frank Sinatra probably has a more memorable movie career. Any thoughts on Bing Crosby?
Both him and I'm blanking on the guy's name, the second
Danny
guy.
Kaye.
Danny Kaye.
Yeah.
Which he looks like Danny Aiello to me for some reason. I don't know why.
I guess it's the nose. I don't agree.
Well, here's the thing. For a second,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, is that guy's dad?" And I was like, "No, it's definitely not that guy's dad."
Yeah.
But they're both good. I like him. I like both of them, and I like who I thought was George Clooney's mom for a second. And
You're close. You know she's his aunt.
I did not know that.
She's
okay,
his
good.
aunt.
I
Yeah.
feel less crazy
Yeah.
now for thinking it's his mom.
Yeah.
And Vera Ellen, is that her name?
Yeah, it's Vera Ellen.
Yeah. No, that core ensemble I think is very solid.
Yeah.
Both them and I think it's we'll get to him later, I'm sure, but the guy who plays the general is probably my favorite.
Oh, we're going to talk about Dean Jagger. We're going to talk about Dean Jagger.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite performance.
Yeah.
No, each of the leads I think is incredibly solid, incredibly endearing.
Yeah. Especially because, like, Bing has, like, he's kind of the stiff of the two of them.
Yeah.
So his, like, it's very easy to just be, he would be boring white man protagonist in any other, and Bing Crosby just has this, like, loose nature sort of, like, cool breeziness to him that, like, is sort of refreshing, and brings an energy that this type of role doesn't usually have.
He's a smooth cat.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy.
Yeah. And he's charming. And it was like, I can believe that Rosemary Clooney would be enamored with this man, even though he's like 20 years older than her.
Yeah. Hopefully this isn't mean to say. He's kind of a goofy looking guy, too, a little bit.
Yeah, but he's not good looking.
Yeah.
He does have
like
like
a sexy way.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, early 30s Bing Crosby, because at this point he's like 20 years into his career. Like, that is a guy who was like, he's distinct looking, but that is a very handsome man.
Yeah.
He's aged into more of a middle-aged, like, he's like regular guy handsome.
Yeah.
But it's like, again, he's just handsome and he's just charming enough and he can fucking sing that I could believe that most women would fall for him eventually.
Yeah.
But that also, it gives him a more approachable thing. Whereas, like, Sinatra, like, he kind of had, like, a street tough, like, rough around the edges thing. But he was also, like, pretty. Like, he was all blue eyes. He had, like, these piercing eyes. Whereas Bing Crosby looked more like, I don't know, a butcher.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, let's Danny Kaye, who was mostly known as a comedian. He did do musicals as well, but it wasn't his, like, main foray. And man, can he fucking dance?
Dude, right on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, I was like, yeah, good dancer.
Very good dancer.
Very good dancer.
Yeah, because that's the thing. Like, you have sort of the two pairs where Bing Crosby, like, he can do the choreography, he can follow along, but that wasn't his strength. And it was like him and Clooney, who also struggled with dancing. You have the singing couple and the dancing couple.
Yeah.
And it's a very smart pairing off of each of them.
A lot of issues I had with the movie is for big stretches, they're just dancing, which does nothing for me. But he can dance.
What do you mean they're just dancing? There's not a lot of just dancing.
There's not a lot of just dancing.
If anything, there's more songs that are, it's just like static camera, they're just singing for a little bit.
The number right after they perform for the first time, the sisters, it's him and Vera Ellen dancing.
Oh, and they're lip syncing?
Outside. Yeah. Well, no, they're dancing together outside. Him and Vera
the
Ellen.
best things happen while you're dancing, which they are singing during that song as well.
They sing and then they stop and they dance, and then there's the whole choreography number. Obviously, is a song to a big stretch that are just dancing as well.
Yeah,
and like that's one.
But cinema is a visual medium, and dancing is when stuff's happening.
I know, but it's one of the big issues I had with Singing in the Rain too.
Which is
the
most insane take that
I
you
know.
have. The greatest dancing film of all time.
It's ridiculous. I know. But the thing is, like, they're great dancers. Good for you being able to dance like that. Just watching them dance, for some reason, is not compelling to me as a viewer.
I could watch them dance for hours and
I know.
hours and hours.
My brain is, like, broken in that way, to some extent. Because I get nothing out of it. Like, I just, like, watch them dance, and it's like, yes, you can dance. Cool.
I get that, because I was a musical freak for a long time, and, like, one of the one thing that took me the longest time to click with was dance. I think it was something like Singing in the Rain, where it finally just clicked with, like, the athleticism of this alone is just insane.
It's one of the things, if I saw this with my own eyes, like, if I was watching it on stage, I'd be transfixed.
Yeah.
On a movie screen, I'm like, yeah, you can dance. I'm very happy that you can dance.
Interesting.
It doesn't work for
Yeah.
me.
No, it's funny that you mentioned Singing in the Rain because one of the people who was supposed to play this part was Donald O'Connor. For this movie was like weirdly in development for like 3 years.
Interesting.
Like when Paramount signed Rosemary Clooney to like a 5-picture deal, they got her in. And it was just like, we're developing a movie with Bing Crosby called White Christmas, and she's like, I want to be in a movie with Bing Crosby, and I want to be in a movie called White Christmas because it's the best-selling song of all time, and that sounds like a smart career move. So like 3 different people were attached to play the Danny Kaye role, and they dropped out for varying different reasons. And it also like got to a thing because the movie's called White Christmas. You can only really release it in like October, November, December. So it has to be made in the summer. So like if someone's availability window lapses and you can't get something together, so it just sort of sat on the shelf. So like she signed to Paramount with the promise that she's going to make a Bing Crosby movie called White Christmas, and then she like made 3 movies leading up to it, just because like the amount of time that had passed. But yeah, I think Danny Kaye is really charming and endearing in this role, and he's a fun sort of comical parallel to Bing Crosby, and he and Vera Ellen are cute together, and guy can fucking dance. Like,
You can, yeah.
it's impressive. Next, speaking of Rosemary Clooney, in one of her few movie roles, after that 5-picture contract was up, she was like, I really don't like making movies. She had a very successful variety show on television, and she was like one of the best-selling career recording artists of her era. So there's not that many movies with her, which I think is a shame, because I think she gives like a Star is Born type performance. Like, she is kind of the whole package.
Yeah. She's very good. Like I said, I have no issues with any of the 4 leads at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess maybe my brain just isn't wired for this kind of movie. Because I was never like... I've always found them all incredibly charming. I was never like submersed in them throughout the entire movie.
I get that, but at the same time, you're really not... That's not what the movie is asking from you.
I guess, yeah.
The movie really just wants you to be charmed and invested enough.
I guess since I was raised in like, and I developed my love of cinema through very modern stuff.
Yeah, and that is like a very modern perception
yeah.
of art.
That's true, yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm not saying that you shouldn't, but it's just
Yes.
like there is like a context that you're...
Yeah, there is a wall I have to break down in order to like fully like ironically not immerse myself in like older stuff like this, and like get what like yeah, the whole point of this movie was like for people in 1954 is to go to the cinema and just like, hey, Bing Crosby sing and dance.
Just
I like that.
The epitome of like forget about your troubles, like
Exactly,
everything
yeah.
drifts away. Which is funny because this movie's made 10 years after the end of World War II, basically.
Mm-hmm.
In a time in American history that's considered mostly like peaceful and prosperous. Obviously, there was a lot of nefarious shit lingering underneath: the Red Scare, racism, homophobia, fucking sexism, all that stuff that we don't really need to get into because you've all read history books.
Yeah.
But on the surface, the Eisenhower era, it's fucking Leave It to Beaver. It's like White and Happy, but it's really interesting that this movie talks about very lightly, but sort of like veterans affairs and like what is the life of a soldier once a war ends. Which is something that when I watched it this time, I watched it with commentary with Rosemary Clooney because why not? I've seen this movie half a dozen times and I'm like, well, just glean more insight. And it's not a super in-depth commentary at all. Like, especially in the first half, she's just like kind of getting lost. She's just watching the movie. You can tell that she just likes watching the movie. And then sort of in the back half, she's telling more stories. If you're looking for a super in-depth commentary, I don't recommend it. If you want to just watch a movie with a hoot of an old lady, that is primo. That is a primo commentary. She's just so charming. It's just like shit. Like, she seemed to have like a nice time making this movie. She seemed to like everyone. There's like 3 different scenes where it was like the girl, the blonde up front, that's my friend B. That's my friend B right there. And she just brings it up every time she's on screen. But Rosemary Clooney, she talked about it was like, these guys went off to war and then they came back home and there was a lot of like, she's sort of dancing around the fact that it was like they had severe PTSD. And she's just like, and I was really moved that this movie was about like
a sense of companionship for these guys who went through this thing of like, and there's things like We'll Follow the Old Man. She's like, that closed every show I did afterward. I always, or at least included We'll Follow the Old Man and like other, army related songs. And she did a lot of USO shows and this, that, and the other thing. And she talked about, it was like, and the thing that's sort of evergreen about this movie is that there's always wars, and everyone always, if they're not in the military themselves, they know and care about someone that was or is. And it's sort of like this universal thing that really ties this movie through the generations, which I thought was interesting. And I like all the army stuff in this. I kind of wish there was more army stuff, to be honest with you. I love the opening. I love the closing. And that's the thing. Like, I do, like, in talking about emotionally enwrapped, I feel like if you're not emotionally enwrapped in the movie, that finale where all the guys come in and we'll get to Dean Jagger Dean Jagger. But that's really the emotional, that's when you get engrossed, I feel like. That's the thread that I feel like they're really trying to hone in on. Any other thoughts about Rosemary Clooney? You briefly.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. It was just when I saw this movie for the first time, it was just like, yeah, light, fun movie. Why the fuck was Rosemary Clooney not in everything? Every now and again, I'll just I'll go back and I'll watch something older, and you'll just see and it just like clicks, and I'm like, how did they not pop? I just think she's so engaging. She's very pretty, but not in like a Grace Kelly, Marilyn Monroe way. There's just something like very like real, very sort of down to earth sort of thing. And obviously she has this incredible voice. I think she has to play the straight man in a lot of scenes, but I think she has a deceptively cunning sense of humor. And I think she really helps other people sell jokes, which I think is a skill that's underappreciated because it sort of goes under the radar. And I think she just has like little ticks that would then be picked up by her nephew, George. She does dance around the fact, because I don't know when this commentary was recorded. She died in 2002. Which is like relatively, so I don't know if this is the late 90s. I don't know. This might just be George on ER, which she did a guest appearance on. She just makes a sparing reference to like, she talked about like her bungalow, her trailer. It's just like, I visited my nephew on one of his sets, and they're certainly not what they used to be. But just sort of that very distinct sort of down to earth nature that I think is picked up by George, 50 so years later, 40 or so years later. Vera Ellen, good dancer.
Good dancer, yeah.
Charming enough. She was the only one of the four that was dubbed, but also she's like considered one of the great dancers on film. She's an incredible dancer. That was the thing. Rosemary Clooney, she was like, Vera and I, we got along, but it seems like she definitely got along with Bing and Danny Kaye more. And I was like, the one thing was like, she would be dancing and I'd be trying to keep up. But the one thing that I had over her is that I could sing and she couldn't. So like there was a very interesting sort of balance of power. Did you notice that all of her costumes have a high neckline?
Yeah.
Never fully see her neck. There's some rumor that like apparently she had like a very severe eating disorder and that like her neck's really distorted. I don't know the validity of that. I think it's equally just impossible that, she's just insecure about her neck. And this movie costumes by Edith Head, the legendary Edith Head. And she just requested that she have high collars. It's just something to note.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting choice. Cause like, it's one of those things, once you notice it, it's the only thing you notice, that every single costume has a high neckline. Up next, the man, the myth, the legend, Dean Jagger.
I was so glad when he came back.
Dion Waiters, absolutely shooting from the half court, every single line, killing it. Another guy where I'm pretty sure he's an Academy Award winner, if not at least nominee, but it's like, how have I not seen this guy in 6 million movies?
Yeah, I'd never seen him before, I don't believe.
Yeah.
He was great.
Let me verify, because I know he was nominated. Did he win? He did a lot of Western. Oh, he's in 12 O'Clock High.
He's in Game of Death.
Which one's is that a Brando thing?
That's a Bruce Lee movie.
Oh, interesting. Playing a character. Oh, he's in Vanishing Point. That's interesting. He did win. He won for 12 O'Clock High.
He did an episode of Shaft.
An episode. So the Shaft TV show. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was just like very consistent, you know, character actor type who played a lot of tough guys. But yeah, he kind of makes his performance kind of makes the movie. Like he's very weirdly the heart in the movie. And he's not in it enough. I'm going to say I would watch an entire movie with this general.
Yeah, that's what I do. I want him just running that hotel.
Yeah.
Being a cool man, carrying his firewood, driving his Jeep.
I'd watch 6 seasons of that sitcom. Just like retired general running an inn in Vermont, has like a busybody. I guess she'd be a manager.
I guess, yeah. I want a lot more of his niece, who's like
his granddaughter,
at all.
the teen granddaughter, who's just sort of vaguely charming.
She'd be great in the sitcom. What kind of hijinks is she getting up to?
She has an amazing the scene like leading up to the finale, and they're like trying to rush. The general is like, "I'll get there," and she's waiting at the bottom of the stairwell, and then he's in his full uniform, and then
the look she gives him.
Curtiz cuts to this incredible close up of her just like glowing. There's this thing. I was watching. Oh, I remember exactly what it's from. I was watching the bonus features on my Something Wild Criterion. Jonathan Demme, one of my favorite filmmakers, and he was talking about when he did a tenure at Roger Corman. That was the start of his career, like a lot of people. And it's like one of the greatest lessons that Roger ever taught me is that, you know, you have to cast very, very well, and every part is important. Because, you know, there's a lot of times you're going to cut to a close-up, or not even a close-up, like whenever someone is on screen, they're the star of the movie. Even if that shot is 2 seconds long, for those 2 seconds, they're the only thing on screen, they're the star of the movie. And this girl who has like 6 lines throughout the entire movie, and if this was a play, which there is a play version that was made years and years later, it'd be very easy for her to be lost in the shuffle. But for like 3 seconds, Curtiz just holds on her, and she just sells this just like enamoration and respect for this man who she's known her entire life, but has probably never seen in this garb before.
Yeah.
In this form, this other version of this man that she knows so well. It's this incredible. I didn't write her down, her name down, but it's Curtiz, and I don't know who the cinematographer is, and her. It's this beautiful moment, and of course, the reason she's able to do that is because Dean Yeager just exudes that energy.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a shit. It was like the romances, you can take them or leave them, they're charming, but like the schmaltzy, like really sake in the heart stuff is all the army stuff.
Yeah, the schmaltzy, like these love they have for each other and respect he ever has for him. That's shit that really works for me.
Yeah,
because everything else just I guess everything else just feels kind of hollow, and that's what felt the most real.
Yeah,
maybe it's because I'm a big softie at heart.
Yeah.
But it's like,
that seems like a classic Hollywood movie you actually like. That seems like something that would be in like Giant or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're like, I feel like your classic Hollywood zone is like Douglas Sirk-esque melodrama.
That's true. Yeah. Oh, we should talk about Giant sometime, man.
Let's do it. Let's do Jimmy Dean.
I would fucking love that.
That's an actor we could very easily do.
Yeah, we could do the 3 Deans.
Since He Who Should Not Be Named is never happening.
Yeah. That's a big cringe on that one. No, Jagger's great. Like I said, he portrays like he's such like a deep sensitivity to him.
Yeah.
And like he's just so like he's so internal and interesting.
It is like the epitome of like tough guy.
Yeah.
Really
tough guy
trying not to show
heart. Yeah.
Like big old softy, but is really not trying to show his hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just the fucking was like, this is the saddest lot of soldiers I've ever seen at the finale, and it's the greatest thing I've seen in my entire life.
In our life, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great, man.
God. Lastly, Mary Wicks, who plays his like busybody manager of the.
She's great. She's very funny.
That's just like slam dunk character actress part.
Yeah.
She's killing every joke she has.
She's great.
Up next. Do you know who the director Michael Curtiz?
Who he is?
Yeah,
I know him as the director of Casablanca.
Exactly.
But
he's one of the classic Hollywood journeyman. Churned out 4 or 5 movies a year, and like 24 of them turned out to be like all-time classic. Casablanca, Yankee Doodle Dandy, those 2 were the same year. this, King Creole, which is considered probably the best Elvis movie. Half a dozen other things that Angels with not Angels with Dirty Faces. That's a Home Alone thing. Only Angels Have Wings. The original Errol Flynn Robin Hood is him. Like, he worked in every genre, worked with every actor. He can do it all, and just like one of the great sort of like, he's kind of the ultimate argument against the auteur theory, because there is not one universal outlying trend throughout his thing, but just like the ultimate craftsman. He's often cited as like, quote unquote, the greatest director you've never heard of. And he did dramas, musicals, westerns. Like, I'm saying the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
But the guy who made Casablanca made this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And he did it equally as well for both.
Yeah, to the point when I looked at the IMDb for this, and I saw crits, and I noticed like, fuck, that's the Casablanca guy.
Yeah. And also, but like under directing credit, it's like 130 credit. And he'd been doing stuff since the silent era. And he was Polish, I believe.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Curtiz, yeah.
I think he was one of like the directors that like came to America to like flee the Nazis.
Yeah, I think so. Were you in that class with Julia where we watched a segment of the Netflix film about him?
Yeah. Probably.
We watched like 3 minutes of Curtiz.
Yeah. Which is a movie that weirdly beat Mank to the punch in a lot of different ways.
Yeah,
it's about the making of Casablanca. It's in black and white. It's a Netflix movie.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Gosh, Mank.
Curtiz fucking kills it. I think this movie is like just a solidly directed through and through. Like, there's not a false decision that you can really point out.
There's one weird camera move. That's about it for me.
What's the one weird camera move?
It's Rosemary Clooney and Bing Crosby sitting at the table, and they're talking, and then the camera moves from them to Vera Ellen and Danny Kaye talking. Mm-hmm. It's a really just not smooth move at all. And they don't continue on the move back. They just cut back and forth after that.
I'm trying to think of the set. So, like, table.
They're sitting at the table. Vera Ellen and Danny Kaye are dancing.
It's a circular table.
Yeah.
Oh, they're dancing.
They're dancing to give them space to talk so they'll fall in love. That's Danny Kaye's whole plan.
Bing Crosby and Rosemary Clooney are at the table. And they're on the dance floor.
And Danny Kaye and her on the dance floor, yeah.
So it's like it's a dolly, I'm assuming, or is it
I don't know what it was, because it wasn't like it goes up and over, but it was like a weird, like, not smooth up and over.
This happens a lot in classic Hollywood movies. It's just like the technology was not there for like smooth, like, because you have to think these cameras, especially for this, we'll talk about, we're literally about to get to VistaVision.
Yeah.
These massive blimps of a camera and these massive like wooden tripods. Like, you're lucky if you can get any movement without completely dislodging the thing. It's not like your tiny little DSLR on a Manfrotto where you can like DSW 40 it.
That's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is why there isn't a ton of that's why dollies were essential, because you couldn't really move the tripod itself. Let's talk about VistaVision.
Yeah, the first movie in VistaVision.
The first movie. Do you know? Have I waxed rhapsodic about VistaVision to you before?
Yeah, but I'm always up for more.
Okay, for the audience at home that doesn't know, I am very, very nerdy about different types of film formats and aspect ratios, especially early versions of widescreen, where like 6 different companies were experimenting with different methods. VistaVision was Paramount's answer to anamorphic widescreen. It was an entirely new technical process, where instead of developing different lenses, and actually there were new lenses, but instead of like developing like weird stretching lenses like scope, or entirely new types of cameras and film formats like Cinerama and Todd AO, essentially it was like, let's take 35 millimeter film, and there's so much surface area that we're not truly optimizing, because traditional 35 millimeter film, it's shot vertically and you have your slots, and it was a square, and that was, worked well for traditional Academy aspect ratio 4:3, 1.33:1. CinemaScope, which was developed by 20th Century Fox, was like, let's take that same surface area, we're going to make a special lens to shoot it, and then you project it out of that same lens, so it looks squashed on the format, but when it's put through the right lens, it stretches out properly. VistaVision, much like its name implies, vistas, it was like, let's take the same 35 millimeter size frame, and then we'll shoot it horizontally. So that way we're filling up more of the surface area. And VistaVision is kind of huge because it's pretty much 16:9. Most televisions today are using the standard VistaVision format because you can fit a bunch of different types of frames within that later. It's just like the perfect shape. It's this perfect canvas. And you can fill up a lot more of a 35 millimeter print. So they had to develop these very special cameras for it because the film had to go in a completely different way. And then there were two different types of prints of it. There were theaters that were set up that they would be projected horizontally. And then, for most theaters, they had to make special prints like CinemaScope, or they had to develop a special lens and be squashed. But VistaVision very quickly fell out of fashion for shooting regular movies because it was just so fucking cumbersome. And at the end of the day, CinemaScope was just easier and very quickly became the industry standard for widescreen. But it lived on mainly in special effects photography. So, like, a lot of the special effects in Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, 2001: A Space Odyssey, a lot of these were shot in VistaVision because it was cheaper than Panavision, 70 millimeter. But it was a much finer grain image that could then be blown up, which works well for special effects. And also, the VistaVision method is basically the foundation of the technology that would become IMAX, because traditional true IMAX on film and OmniMax, which is like the dome version of IMAX, is filmed and then projected horizontally, much like VistaVision. That's Steve's nerdy obscure film fact and aspect ratio corner. Also, it just has the most amazing logo in the world. It's a standard Paramount logo, and then the mountain stays the same. And then just, if anyone doesn't know the VistaVision logo, either Google it or it's going to pop up right here. That's for the edit. In my notes, I wrote VistaVision in the it's just the best logo in the world. This movie looks fucking great.
It does, yeah.
These prints have been preserved so well because it was a much finer grain film stock than 35 millimeter was at the time, especially Technicolor. The sets are perfect, and the costuming, Ethan Head is a legend, and the lighting, it's just like the epitome of like high level studio filmmaking.
Yeah, to the point I even wrote in the next thing I have after VistaVision is they don't make movies like this anymore.
They really,
and they thing to say, but
they couldn't even if they wanted to.
Yeah,
the system is not in place the way it used to be, because like studio lots used to be essentially like giant offices. Like there were departments, and like everyone worked on everything, and it was like, all right, we have all these set things in our archives, and they can be used, reused, and repainted, and we have these sets, and obviously there's a lot of money that goes into that, and there's more complications, but like everything that you needed was on this lot. And if it wasn't on this lot, you would go to another lot. Like Rosemary Clooney in the commentary, she talked about that train station. That's one of the few scenes that's not shot on the Paramount lot. That's shot on the Fox lot, because Fox was the only lot that had a train station. And just every movie, if you needed a train station, you just went to the Fox lot.
So crazy.
And that's the thing. Like one of my favorite things, like when you watch enough classic films and you get really familiar with what studio has what, and like their in-house styles, because a lot of like studios had like in-house camera techniques, because like the cinematographers would be contracted to each individual studio. They wouldn't hop from studio to studio to studio. So like someone would become the head of the camera department, and they would teach everyone else these things, and these camera techniques would be passed out within the studio. But like the thing was just like, oh, that's the Universal lot. I know exactly where that is. I know this and the other thing. It's like knowing that like Seinfeld, which was shot primarily on the old Columbia lot on the sound stages, all the New York exteriors are on the Paramount lot, because Paramount is one of the few lots that just has a proper like setting that is New York. That every movie that's supposed to be in New York just uses the Paramount lot. Do you have any other notes?
No, it's just like George Chakiris.
I was going to get to him. I was going to get to him when we get into but yeah, this is an early appearance of George Chakiris. I'll just bring it up now. He's mainly in the minstrel show number, primarily Mandy. You can see him dancing in the background, but his big thing is Love You Didn't Do Right by Me, which is after Rosemary Clooney leaves the lodge and she's mad at Bing and this and the other thing. It's her solo act, which is not a very dance heavy number. It's essentially her singing, doing some minor choreography, and these dancers going around her. But George Chakiris is the only one of the dancers that has a proper close up with her. So he got, after the movie came out, like a couple months later, piles and piles of fan mail came in, only addressed to the boy behind Rosemary Clooney's shoulder in White Christmas, because no one knew who his name was. He was just some dancer. But he kills that close-up so well, and he's just so handsome. He just has this perfect jawline that, like, so many people were enamored with him that Paramount, like, gave him a proper contract, and that was really the start of his movie career.
Wild.
And then 7 or 8 years later, he wins the Oscar for West Side Story.
Yeah. Handsome,
and he's just and he's an incredible dancer, because he's the one who became famous later. Like, your eye just follows him. It's just, man, he's killing it. He's killing it. Yeah. Do you have any other notes? Otherwise, I have a list of the biggest numbers.
I have like my complaints.
All right, let's get into it.
I've already addressed them. I don't care when they're just dancing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the movie needed a lot more substance for me, at least in some sections. But that's not it's not the point.
Here's the thing. I kind of agree with you, but it's already like 2 hours flat. Like, yeah, that's the thing with musicals. Like, they're really tough to make. Like, when I say this movie is souffle, like a souffle, it's like this light, sort of fluffy dish, but it's also one of the hardest dishes to make. Like, and musicals are the same way, where it's just like there's so many things that you have to juggle to do it just right.
Yeah.
That for a lot of, like, there are some people that just musicals just don't work, and you'll kind of never be able to win them over because there's always going to be something missing for them. And there's other people who are just like, I don't care. Everything else is so perfect that.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with you.
No, I completely get that.
But what you see as hollow, I just see as light on its feet, and sort of jovial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had a conversation a few months ago now, where you said the sentence to me, secrets, not misunderstandings, right? Is what you said to me about like film structure. Like the conflict of like it's a misunderstanding driving the plot, like drives you wild.
No, I kind of hate the thing. Like, the entire thing is built on a lie, and it was like, and it's not even that you're not a butcher; it's that you lied to me. Like that, that thing in the third act. My thing is, in drama, secrets are far more interesting than lies.
Lies. That's what.
Which this movie isn't a secret; it's a misunderstanding. Which is why I say the movie's kind of. It's farce-like in its structure, because there's a lot of overlapping sort of things. But yes, if Bing Crosby was planning, and we are going to film it for television, we're going to make all this money, and then it was like, oh no, I realized the error of my ways. But yes, I continue with your point.
The phone call misunderstanding is so lame to me.
It is really lame.
It's so bad.
I do think it is better than what I was saying just a second ago, that if he was selfish and he had to learn his lesson. Yes. No, one of my favorite things about the commentary track is that Rosemary Clooney also gets kind of annoyed with the like bits of the plot, and she is like, every time her character misunderstands what's happening, she's like, oh, you dummy. You got it all wrong. I just loved how engaged she was in the plot of this movie. It is the unfortunate. I never said this movie was incredibly well written.
No.
Though there were a lot of clever lines and fun sort of situations. That is just like, it's the end of the second act. We need this perfunctory thing so the fucking finale can happen.
Yeah, you need to set up the conflict so they'll get together at the end again.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's the won't they of the will they won't they.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a thing where it's like, once you've seen I've seen thousands of movies.
Yes.
When something is cliche or like in that way where it's been done 1,000 times, it grates on me much more than it would someone like probably in the 50s seeing this movie and they're like, oh, drama, intrigue.
Yeah. When I think by this point that plot device was already a cliche, but it wasn't to the extent where like this is copying one thing and then like the thing that you saw for the first time was the copy of the copy of the copy of the copy. It was like these sort of devices get so ingrained in our culture across decades, especially with sitcoms in particular. I feel like that's a very sitcom-y thing.
It is.
Sitcoms have picked up, farcical comedy as sort of waned in film across the decades and has just been adopted whole cloth by sitcoms, where sitcoms are copying each other episode for episode because they have to just fill up content.
Yeah.
Like all these cliches from old movies, it was just like, another thing I really love about this movie is like, let's put on a show. Like that is a plot that I will always just be in for, and I feel like that's something that sitcoms have like sort of waned in films, though there are things like, I don't know, Save the Last Dance and Honey Order. It's just like we still got to save the rec center. I'm trying to think of the last. There was something recent that had like a we have to save the rec center plot. And it's lost on me.
Yeah, the bad thing is, like I said, when I watch so much shit, everything just kind of blends together at some point.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about, but I can't for the life of me remember it either.
Yeah, there are things where it's like, I watched that this year.
Yeah,
when you go back on your log. What were we talking about? Cliches. I do like the thing about the phone call, though, is like that. I mean, hard lines in houses used to still have the thing where if anyone picked up the phone, they can hear the conversation. But it's the fact that like she has to act as the operator for the entire hotel, so like every call has to go through her, which is why she's listening in. On top of the fact that she's just, you know, Snoop. Yeah, so I have a list of the big numbers. Some of the ancillary ones where it's not very dance heavy. It's just like, yeah, good song. So Sisters, just a club banger, just an absolute banger. They kill it. I love the fans. I love the thing where to distract the cop, Bing and Danny Kaye have to reprise it, which apparently they did two versions of it. One where they did everything perfectly. Well, no, one is the version we see in the movie is the version they shot first, and they just kept breaking because the whole thing of them in drag was just so ridiculous to them. And then Bing was kind of a perfectionist, like, no, let's do it again. Let's get it right. And they didn't, and they got it right. And it just wasn't as funny. It's just funny to see them laughing at themselves.
Yeah.
You know, because Connor, Lord help the mister who gets between me and my sister, and Lord help the sister who gets between me and my man. Irving Berlin. He can write a lyric. Yeah, we didn't mention these are all Irving Berlin songs. Like that's kind of we'll talk about this more when we get to Anna, which is comes from a different philosophy of musicals. But this is like musicals back in the day, particularly movie musicals, which were taking sort of like the philosophy of the follies and reviews of Broadway musicals of like the 20s and 30s. You know, pre Rodgers and Hammerstein basically inventing the modern musical, which we'll talk about more. Where it's essentially like we have a collection of those songs and we're essentially writing a thin plot around them. Like the show exists really to showcase these songs. Yeah. And the story is sort of innocuous. And this movie is a sort of light remake, not really. Plots are somewhat different of Holiday Inn, which was another Bing Crosby.
Oh, is it really?
Kind of. There's a lot of parallels. The kind of idea is like we're just kind of going to do Holiday Inn again. It's not like, because like there's the World War II element now, and I think Holiday Inn's more of a love triangle. I've never seen Holiday Inn because Holiday Inn does have blackface.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Well, Steve, the reason why I'm being so excitable and asking is because I just picked this up at Best Buy.
What studio is Holiday Inn? Is that Paramount?
Let me find out. It is Paramount, yeah.
Okay, damn. Does it have a voodoo code? I would like to watch that if I don't have to pay for it. It is
Movies Anywhere, though. It says, it's Universal. Maybe it's a Paramount co-production.
Oh, no. There's a thing where not all, but a lot of the old Paramount library is owned by Universal. The company MCA bought a huge portion of the Paramount library in like the early 70s. And then in like the 80s, they bought Universal. So Universal adopted all those titles. Because I've been meaning to, because that's one of the few big ones I'm missing, but I was like, I don't want to pay for it.
Yeah. Hey, it was $8 at Best Buy.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, why not?
Yeah. So they're very, like, obviously it's Christmas, there's a hotel, there's two guys and a girl, and like, there's a lot of similarities. Like, the idea was like, I don't know, Bing, like, because that's like back in the and it still happens today. It was just like, you know, Bing had this type of hit like 10 years ago. He's still a viable star. Let's just do that again. A Holiday Inn, the other big parallel is Holiday Inn is also all Irving Berlin songs. And I think they do White Christmas in Holiday Inn. So it's the same type of idea. So yeah, the movie existed to showcase Irving Berlin songs.
Yeah.
The best things happen while you're dancing. pretty damn good dancing.
Pretty
Snooze
good
fest,
movie.
according to Connor Randolph.
At the end, I was like, "Oh man, when is this gonna end?"
It's a nice set though, especially because like a lot of the movie's going to be in Vermont. It was just like this Floridian with the palm trees and the.
Another thing about like obviously this style of filmmaking.
Yeah.
When there are no practical locations, and I can tell like they're on like an actual like very well constructed set, but it's a set. It does like just immediately pull me out of the movie. Which is a bad part too.
But see, I get it. I get like because the modern sensibility is immersion. Whereas, and I get it, and I really like when I really believe what's happening. But at the same time, there is something so. I guess it's just because I'm such a theater nerd too. I really appreciate when things are very theatrical. I just appreciate sort of the unreality of it all. It was like we're sort of entering this sort of like dreamlike state where everything's sort of like perfect and pristine and. You know, the great thing about movies is because they can do things that can't happen in real life.
Exactly, yeah.
But I understand where you're coming from. What you see as like a drawback, I see as a different type of positive.
Exactly.
Tomato. It's a great set though.
It's a great set.
Snow on the train. It's not an elaborate number, but I think it's very charming. Vera Ellen is lip syncing. She didn't do any of her own singing. But it's just a nice little repartee. I like trains. I really like trains in movies, particularly in like classic Hollywood. There's a lot of great like train movies. This Vivacious Lady with Jimmy Stewart and Ginger Rogers, Strangers on a Train. There's the great train scene in Double Indemnity. Trains are it's just a good setting.
Mm-hmm.
It's a confined space, but you're moving.
Completely different. Train to Busan.
Train to Busan.
Great trains.
Grand Budapest Hotel.
Yeah.
Under Siege 2, Dark Territory. Darjeeling Limited.
Darjeeling Limited, yeah.
Yeah.
Great trains.
Oh, that Wes Anderson Christmas
H&M
commercial. That
yeah,
H&M commercial.
Yeah.
Minstrel Show / Mr. Bones / Mandy.
Very relieved there was no blackface.
Yeah, it's
me and my girlfriend both froze. We read
real dicey, real dicey, and that's Holiday Inn has a similar number, but Bing and Fred are in blackface.
Well, damn.
It's kind of crazy. It's like that's the difference between like 36 and 54.
Yeah.
Not saying that there wasn't blackface in the 50s, but it was less common in like a big Technicolor musical.
Yeah.
Choreography, which is the single most insane number in the entire movie.
It's pretty bonkers, yeah.
Yeah. It's just like it's it's mocking the Martha Graham modern dancing movement that was happening in the 50s, but it's just like I get it because like you guys are sort of the dodo in this equation. And it's sort of like this new wave coming in that's completely upending everything you've done with your entire career. But like, as an artist, wouldn't you kind of respect? I don't know. You're dancers. Wouldn't you appreciate different types of? I don't get it. I don't know.
Yeah.
The funny thing is that the Your Love Don't Do Right About Me does have very distinct sort of modern sort of quirks to. I don't know. Here's the thing. It's a really fun number. And I think kind of the craziness of existence, just like the audacity of it.
Yeah.
It also just has nothing to do with anything.
Nothing.
It does not fit into this type of review that they're doing at all.
No. Well, because the funny thing is they said that they're doing like their nightclub act. And I was like, where the hell does this fit in their nightclub act?
Well, here's the thing. I can see it fitting into their nightclub act because nightclub acts were essentially like variety shows. But it like everything is like all the other numbers are like very like either traditional love ballads, Christmas related, or army related.
Yeah.
And then there's just this, and then Danny Kaye was like, what about these fucking choreographers? Am I right? I'm going to wear a purple leotard. Danny Kaye doesn't talk like this, but just this weird repugnance, like, ooh, choreography. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Love Didn't Do Right By Me, which I was going to bring up mainly for the George Chakiris thing. And it's not a very elaborate number. It's not even particularly a great song. It's just a great Rosemary Clooney moment. She's wearing this incredible black dress with the little diamond thing on the back. And she has these insane, like, bedazzled sequin gloves, which she pointed them out this time when I was watching. And I'm like, oh, I wonder if that's where Michael Jackson got the idea. because Michael Jackson is this huge classic Hollywood freak. Like half his dance moves, it's like like his dancing style. It's like, you know, breakdancing techniques of like the streets of his time, Bob Fosse and Fred Astaire. That's basically the Michael Jackson dancing. So knowing that he's this classic Hollywood, I wonder if this was directly the inspiration for the single like sequin glove. And she talked about like they were the most uncomfortable things in the world, but they look great. And then finally the finale, which is the reprise of Listen to the Old Man, Gee, Wish I Was Back in the Army, and White Christmas. I guess we probably should have talked about the opening as well. The opening's really sharp, and it's this amazing, huge soundstage set of war-torn southern France on Christmas Eve.
It's incredible. Like I mentioned, like the sets are incredible. Especially I was impressed by the explosions.
Yeah.
And I was like the light work done in those.
In the background when they're singing, it was like follow the old, and and they get quiet.
Yeah.
Follow the old man. Yeah. No, it's. I watched an entire movie just set in that set, just like an army like base on Christmas Eve.
Dude, I'm all for a cool World War II musical starring Danny Kaye and Bing Crosby.
Yeah, I'd watch it. Yeah. But yeah, the reprise of Listen to the Old Man, Gee, I Wish I Was Back in the Army, which is just a really fun number where Danny Kaye gets to do a lot of dancing, and Vera Ellen and Rosemary Clooney wearing some very nice whack uniforms, really pulling off those pants. And then that crazy fucking fat person.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which is just like a great sort of insane vaudevillian gag that you would never do today. And the thing where it's like they kind of use the sort of disembodied nature of their legs and the heads well in that. And then White Christmas, where it's just like it's a Christmas card come to life. And like the thing where it's not snowing in Vermont, and they lift the back of the theater and there's snow and and they're all dressed perfectly, and that's basically the poster is them all in like Santa garb. It's just a nice touching.
It is.
It's a nice movie. Hollywood ending to this whole thing.
Steve.
Which leads us perfectly into not another Hollywood ending of Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Do we want to just jump right into it?
Sure. Let's dive into it. We're going to talk about this a lot less than White Christmas, I have a feeling.
Or a lot more. I had very distinct thoughts when I watched it and in the day following, and I think a lot of them might be gone now. We might be entering into a bit of a rabbit hole. Connor, what is your history with Anna and the Apocalypse?
2017. I heard it was good. I watched it Christmas, December 2nd of 2019. Thought it was pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. I rewatched it this morning. It's okay.
My experience is similar but different. I remember when this premiered at Fantastic Fest. When this premiered at Fantastic Fest was like sort of the height of me reading like Birth Movies Death, so I was sort of in the loop for this type of which Birth Movies Death was owned by Alamo Drafthouse, which runs Fantastic Fest, so I was just sort of in the loop for this type of like genre-y stuff. And I'm like, Christmas, high school, zombie musical sounds great. Sounds so fun. Sounds like campy and delicious and wonderful. And then I heard really good things. And I'm like, great. I'm going to get to it one of these Christmas. I was like, I'm going to try to see it, and I didn't get to it. And I'm like, this is where the difference between you and I really comes to apparent, is that you prioritize newer movies more than I do. It's not just that your preference leans more modern. Like if a newer movie comes out, like you really make an effort to see it. Whereas if I miss something the year it comes out, I'm probably not going to see it for like another 5 years. It's just like there's too many movies to catch up on, and my taste sort of like there's so much older stuff that I want to get to. Is that a movie from 2 years ago that I heard was great? It was like, I know I'll get to it eventually. But like the more I push off this movie from the 70s or whatever, I don't know when I'm going to get to that eventually. So it was one of these, it was like, and the thing about Anna and the Apocalypse specifically was like, it's a Christmas movie. So I know every year I watch like 5 Christmas movies I haven't seen before. So Anna's going to be one of them eventually. So I was really excited when you chose it for this. It was like, great, Christmas movie I've been meaning to see. I hear it's great. I feel like I'm really going to like this. It's a musical. We just watched White Christmas. We're doing 2 musicals. It's going to be great. And man, did I hate it from minute 1.
Minute 1?
Connor, I cannot explain how instantly this movie lost me. Um, I'm gonna touch on it briefly because let's do our standard thing where we'll go through the cast and then we'll get into it in more detail. But that opening scene of them in the car, and it's every bit of cliched high school dialogue I have ever heard in my entire life, and I'm like, oh no, they're playing it straight. Like, this is not tongue in cheek at all.
No,
they
it's not.
really want me to care as like this like conflict is really sort of the emotional core of the movie, that this is that how they're starting it off. I'm like, this is not a good start. I sure hope I like it more when they start singing. And the other fucking crazy thing about this movie is that it does not open with a song, which is so rare for a musical and kind of a disastrous decision, because there's like musicals, like you're either on board or you're not. And I feel like the filmmakers, on one hand, they know you are watching this movie because you heard it's the zombie high school Christmas musical. Like, that is sort of the pitch that was like, you're either in the door or you're not. But like, even knowing that it's a musical, musicals break aesthetic reality in such a way that you kind of have to open right away with singing just to let your audience acclimate themselves. Like, there's a weird thing in our brains where we just kind of need to jump in straight into the deep end to even accept like the breaking of reality. So the fact, like 10 minutes in, theoretically, if you didn't know this is a musical and then they just start breaking out into song when you thought this was just going to be a shitty high school movie, it's just sort of like, it breaks it. It really breaks it. Yeah, do you have any bullet points before we get into it? You talked about your sort of overall thoughts, but
bullet points. I think the movie does have a very big heart. I think the emotional moments do work for the most part, especially the ones towards the end, and the songs just don't work.
Songs are bad.
Yeah,
with a few exceptions, but for the most part, the songs are so bad. And I looked up the songwriters, and like, they're now working on the Animaniacs reboot that's on Hulu. And Animaniacs is a show like known for its songs. That based on this, that really doesn't bode well for that reboot, because if like some of these lines are just so clunky, are such stretches that I'm shocked they didn't pull hamstrings, that like, you're gonna like do the show that did like the country song, which is like one of the most like fast-paced like joke a minute songs ever. Yeah, the songs are really fucking snooze fest, and we'll go into it because I have the whole list right here. There's also not that this movie is short, so there's not that many considering that it's a musical. Yeah, do you want to go down the cast list the way we usually do? Because this will be very quick.
So we have Ella Hunt, who plays the main character Anna.
Anna. It is insane that this movie is called Anna and the Apocalypse, and I know basically nothing about Anna. I know that her mom's dead, and I know that she wants to travel, and she has a best friend who she's like, I hate this term, but she's like friend zoned into infinity.
Yes.
Despite him being like this cute boy, he's cute. They should be together. And that's not me like projectifying like nice guy energy. Like, he's just cute.
He's a nice
she
guy.
Should date him. And yeah, it's a fucking zero of a character, which is disastrous for like a zombie movie in general. Because like, I was thinking about it, was just like, what doesn't work about this? I'm like, all right, it's a zombie movie, it's a high school movie, it's a Christmas movie, and it's a musical, and it does none of the four things well. The high school shit is cliched and awful. As a musical, 8 out of the 10 songs are terrible. So that's out. As a Christmas movie, it's okay. It's set at Christmas. They keep up bringing the fact that it's Christmas. I like that it's sort of a meta commentary about like lost connections and like the isolation of Christmas. Like that's fine. All right, C- on that. And then as a zombie movie, the best zombie movies tend to have one central character that we're following, and they are sort of like our litmus test for the entire movie, like how it affects their life. And obviously we're interacting with other people. the movie like affects it, but like we're essentially following this one person through their eyes view. 28 Days Later, the three classic Romero zombie movies, Night, Dawn, Day of the Dead, they all sort of have one central character, and they're interacting with these other people, and we get to see the other world's perspective, but we have this one central character that we're pretty much following through. And the movie that I thought about the most while watching this, which is probably slightly an unfair comparison because it's this big cult favorite and it's a personal favorite of mine, but it's the other big UK based zombie parody, and that's Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
And Shaun of the Dead takes all of the tropes of that genre and it parodies them perfectly, and on top of it, it does have this perfect sort of emotional arc because you completely understand Shaun, where he's coming from before this, what he's going through during this, and how this will affect him afterwards. Because Shaun is like, okay, what do we know about Shaun? He's recently gone through a breakup. He has a dead-end job. He's like the ultimate. It's not that he's just like a regular guy in which Anna is just sort of that blank, shitty first-time screenwriter is like, I'm a regular teen. Like, he's a loser. He's a man-child who's obsessed with the music and the content of from his childhood. He doesn't know how to grow up. He doesn't know how to like open himself up emotionally to an adult relationship, and he's sort of stuck in this loop. He is a zombie of a human being, and then over the course of this movie he has to realize what his priorities are in terms of his relationships and this, then, and the other thing, and what losing someone really means, and what he's willing to do to fight to keep a relationship alive, and this, then, and the other thing. It is hard for me to compare this movie to what I would say is basically a perfect screenplay. It's a perfect parody, it's a perfect comedy, it's a perfect sort of horror pastiche. This was never going to live up to that, but it's insane how close to the bar it even gets. Like, it's the tiniest little, and then we're done. I feel like this movie is sort of coasting on its laurels of like, we're the zombie Christmas high school musical, and they didn't really develop it further from that.
I disagree with you at all. I like Anna, but I think that's only because I like Ella Hunt.
Yeah, she's just charming enough, but this character is a zero.
Yeah. She has no growth, no real emotional arc to begin with at all.
It's just, what is one word that you would use to describe Anna? The red letter media Qui-Gon test.
God, I want to say brave, oddly enough.
Yeah, I guess because because she's determined. There's that thing everyone talks about, like, you're so smart, you could do whatever you want. Like the dad keeps saying that, the brother and the best friend
John.
Who cares? It's just like, you always know what to do. It's kind of annoying. That's not Scottish at all. What is Anna's interest outside of travel and Dead Mom?
Anna,
like, they never said
music. She loves Australia.
She likes music. Why does she like?
Because
she sings. But everyone sings. It's a musical.
No, there's a part where she has earbuds in and she listens to music.
Oh yeah, she does. She is a teenager with earbuds in. Yes,
she likes music. God. She has her AirPods in.
Yeah, I just feel like, okay, so Anna, she's like, I'm going to take this gap year and then I'm going to go to college. What is she interested in studying? What is something that she wants to do with her life outside of travel and not think about her dead mom?
Nothing.
Oh,
no. None of these characters here that we have. Anna,
protagonist.
Friend. Anna, protagonist, friend, lesbian, guy who's supposedly really good at making videos, and girl, naughty Santa. Those are our 5 friends.
You forgot douchebag friend. Douchebag
army brat guy.
Yeah, douchebag army brat guy.
Yeah, but they aren't people.
No.
Which is the biggest problem.
I wish this movie had 2-dimensional characters.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like at this point it's barking up the wrong tree to ask for 3, but I wish they were 2-dimensional characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's just run through it. Just give me a name, and I'll tell you what I think.
Next is the guy who plays John, Malcolm Cumming.
Non-starter. All of his jokes are incredibly unfunny. That's not on him, though, because they're not there. He is discount Scottish Jack Quaid. Next.
I liked all of the other reindeer. I think that should have been
that almost had an energy. Anytime, honestly, Connor, I usually get your complaints. I feel like if you initially rated this movie 4 stars, you're never allowed to complain about Marvel humor ever again. Because this movie doesn't even come close to that. Marvel humor is fucking Preston Sturges compared to this.
This movie made me cry when I first saw it. At the end, when she's like surrounded by zombies and she's saying, I was like, I did get tears in my eyes. I couldn't tell you how, I couldn't tell you why. But maybe I was just like, here's the thing. Also, I was in a really dark place junior year. I didn't realize it until afterwards.
Yeah, it was a rough time for both of us.
I think I just was in such a dark place.
Yeah.
That like this movie just made me cry.
Yeah.
I was so starved for feeling any kind of emotion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was wrong. It's not that high. Next is Sarah Swire, who plays Steph.
And she's the American that has the haircut like Switch from The Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah. She was the best singer out of all of them.
Yeah, she's a really good singer. I like her. I like Steph, even though her character is just like her parents don't know how to deal with her. Her girlfriend doesn't really like her that much.
That soup kitchen thing really comes to nothing, doesn't it?
No, we don't even see it.
Yeah, but like this movie at least has the perfunctory if something's brought up in the first 10 minutes, we're going to bring it up in the last 10 minutes. But that soup kitchen thing comes to nothing.
No, she's a nice lady who cares about social change.
Does she though? I feel like they're kind of edging towards the thing where she's just like, she just likes feeling important and like that she's on the like this movie doesn't even have the teeth to really sell that.
See, I get the impression she does legitimately care about social change, but she's not a social person. When she does try to make jokes, they just fall flat even within that group of people.
Yeah.
I think she's never had a real like human connection outside of her parents who just simply don't understand her. Yeah. And that's why she reaches for something more. It's because she feels so left out. She tries to make a positive change because her life like is just so isolated.
Yeah, I guess I feel like a lot of it is also the sort of it was just like the sort of like edgy outsider character is like the CW thing was like, and they're played by an actor who was clearly the lead in all their high school shows because she's this lovely, charming, attractive young woman, and why wouldn't she be? And it's not on like part of it's the script, part of it's the direction, and part of it is just like she's just miscast for this role. But she is the best singer out of all of them. When she started singing, I'm like, maybe she should have been Anna. Maybe that could have been part of her isolation because Anna's the one American in this Scottish school, and then you could have built off that, and she already felt like an outsider. Like this, there's things you could do.
Christopher Laveau, who plays Chris.
0. Next. No, absolute. Okay, can I talk about my so him and girl that's like redacted?
Yeah, Marley Sway. Yeah,
their ending. This really shows that this movie was not the movie that I think it should have been or I wanted to be. And again, I feel so hypocritical because my thing with movies. With a movie, I generally try to accept it on its own terms. Do I think it's successful in what it's trying to do? This movie isn't successful in what it's trying to do in any capacity, so I've looped back around to resenting it, and now I know what I feel like it should be, and I'll just be completely petty. But really, like, the disconnect between me and this movie is the scene where they're both bit, and they have this heartfelt, tender goodbye, and it's really raw, and they start kissing passionately. It's raw, and I'm like, they should start eating each other because now they're both zombies, and the fact that the movie doesn't go there, I feel like is the ultimate sign of its failure, because you have set yourself perfectly for an opportunity where two people are literally sucking face while they're becoming zombies, and the natural conclusion is that they should start eating each other.
I don't disagree. Yes. I think that's one of the best moments of the movie, though.
Oh, it's rancid. It's rancid for its missed opportunity, and also I don't give a fuck about these people. I don't care about his heart failure grandma.
A basic enough emotion where I feel like connection to it. And here's it: we do get a resolve of his arc semi-weirdly, where in the beginning the teacher's like, "You don't show your real life in your videos," and at the end, the video he shows her is like all of the friends together. It's really him. It's so dumb and so forced and so cliche.
This movie should have been directed by John Waters.
Oh, that'd have been sick. I don't know against that.
Like, anyway.
And you covered Marley Sway, who plays his girlfriend Lisa.
At least she has an energy. Like, she is going.
Yeah.
Like, she's cranked the energy up to 10.
The Santa song's fun.
I don't know. I like the horny Santa song. That was the one like I felt like truly inspired. I love the background dancers that are coming out. I feel like they missed the opportunity because the principal does not react the way that he does. And that once he realizes that this song is like borderline pornographic, he should be rushing into that auditorium.
Yeah.
Like, that's enough. That's enough. I don't know how this got past rehearsals, but that's enough.
Yeah, it's
Moving
I
on to
don't
the
know
next
like
act.
why he would have stopped it immediately. The character
Yeah.
we've gotten so far, Mr.
Instead,
Savage.
he's just like fisting.
Yeah.
Then
Ben Wiggins, who plays Nick.
I mean, he's playing the blowhard braggart,
Yeah,
bully, but at least he understands the assignment.
he has a heart of gold.
Not really.
His dad was hard on him.
Yeah, whatever. I'm not talking about nothing related to all these terribly written characters. He understood the assignment.
Yeah, he's good in the movie.
He's C-grade Gaston.
Yeah, he's good in the movie.
Yeah.
He does a good job. Then following her father, Mark Benton.
He's charming enough. He has good like dad exacerbated but trying his best energy.
Did you like the swap of "If Your Mother Could See You Now"? The 2 times he says it.
No, I didn't even put that together because I could not give a shit about.
But Steve, in the beginning, when she talks to taking the ear off, he's like, "Oh, if your mother could see you now," with such disappointment. And at the end, when she like triumphs, like, "If your mother could see you now," cinema.
I did notice. I'm like, oh, they started the movie in the car, and now they're ending the movie in the car because she was in the exact same spot that she was at in the beginning.
And finally, Paul Kaye,
who's the one actor I was vaguely familiar.
Yeah,
I almost like his song.
Yeah, it's fun. I prefer the one with him and Anna at the end than like his weird song, but
I would agree with you with the character motivation for they really just lose the course on that one. I'm like, I don't understand his thought process after a while. Besides, evil. It's my thing with Palpatine. It was like, why did Palpatine do this? To prove the dark power of the Sith. Why did this guy do this? It was like, so they all understand. Understand what? They'll understand. That's that character. Do we want to just go through these fucking songs?
Sure.
Okay. Can I just say, only one song in this entire show actively acknowledges this is about the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, fuck. I don't know which one. That's the problem.
It's the douchebag song. It's Soldier at War.
Oh, yeah, it is Soldier at War.
He's like, I'm going to make all these zombie paintings.
That's where the word zombies actually used.
There is only one other song where the word zombie is used. And that's Paul Kaye's first song, Nothing's Gonna Stop Me. But it's in such a throwaway line that it could be recontextualized.
I've been saying even zombies for years,
Yeah, which, closer. I will believe there's other songs that do technically fit into the idea that the apocalypse is happening, but only in the most vague, tenuous connections. What I'm saying is that this is a problem. I'm not saying that all songs have to be very literal to what is happening in the plot at any given moment. But what I am saying is that out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, out of 9 songs, if you could take 8 of them out and recontextualize them, if your musical is about the zombie apocalypse, a very specific situation, and you could take 8 of your 9 songs and put them in a show that is theoretically not about the zombie apocalypse, that's kind of a failure on every level.
I don't disagree with you.
Because it was the thing I was talking about, I was referencing vaguely earlier with White Christmas, that White Christmas is coming from a different era and a different style of musical making, where it was like, we have the songs first and we're vaguely tying a plot together. Anna and the Apocalypse is much more in the modern model that Rodgers and Hammerstein established in Oklahoma and South Pacific, where it was like the songs are really integral to the plot. The songs and the plot are sort of being developed concurrently in most situations. And the sort of idea is that if these songs are not integral to this story, then they shouldn't be singing. the sort of the philosophy that Sondheim hammered home time and time and again. Why does this story need to be a musical? And I feel like the zombie apocalypse, which has a lot of heightened emotions, and in musicals, the songs appear when emotions are most heightened. There's a lot of potential, but there is scenes like the first real zombie attack in the bowling alley where it's just a zombie attack, and when this is a very stressful situations that these characters have never gone through, they should be singing. They should be singing, and they're not. Instead, they sing 10 minutes later about some fucking song about how Twitter is ruining us as a society that doesn't even fit with what's going on, because the whole point of that plot point is that there's no signal and they can't even reach the internet or so. So why are you talking about how technology is separating us when the thing that is separating you right now is not even related to technology?
I wish I could tell you.
You know what's the craziest thing? That stupid fucking awful human voice song I'm talking about is the highest selling song from this album on iTunes. Can you believe that? It's rancid. It's a terrible song.
That's interesting. I would have thought Soldier of War, or the one with her and I forgot the best friend's name, as they're walking like as zombies are behind them. I would have thought those would be the two.
Oh, Turning My Life Around?
Yeah, Turning My Life Around.
The other ones are Give Him a Show and Hollywood Ending, which Hollywood Ending, that was the one scene from this I had seen. That was the scene that they're really kind of pushing. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, this is a musical.
We'll go through the songs, yeah.
Breakaway. One of the most dud of an opening numbers I've ever seen in my entire life. Which is, it's like, it's not even really an I Want song. There's like 3 different songs that kind of fit into the I Want song, but none of them really. Okay, Breakaway. I Hate High School. Hollywood Ending. I Hate High School. Turning My Life Around. I Hate High School, but hey, maybe that's not so bad. Maybe there's some bright things happening in the future. Human Voice. Being a teenager with technology is hard. Give them a show. Hey, being a teenager is hard, but maybe I'll turn my life around. Do you see where I'm getting at with this?
Yes, I do, yeah.
We're covering a lot of the same ground.
Okay, Steve, you said this movie's like not clever, not funny.
Mm-hmm.
You must have forgotten when the old lady zombie peed on her head. You must have forgotten about that.
It's worn plastic, Connor.
Yeah, it's warm plastic.
Here's the thing, that it's not a great line, but she does almost sell it.
Yeah.
I gotta give credit to Switch from Matrix. She does almost sell it.
It's there's an old lady sitting on her face.
But she's not sitting on her face. She's clearly sitting on her back.
I know. Which, hey, it's a funny line. That's why they say face.
These jokes don't even, like, they're not structured like jokes. It's just,
they don't work.
Joss Whedon was really the death of like a particular type of comedy, because just like this sort of like vague pointing out quippy things just became substitutes for jokes in most screenwriters. Like most screenwriters who are not funny, it was like, well, at least I'm clever, and they're not clever.
Yeah.
And this movie's fucking littered with them. The guy who shoots lasers out of your hands. Excuse me, Iron Man has repulsors.
You don't need any more help being more repulsive.
You look like the biggest C word.
Yeah. That was okay. I thought that was clever. That's fun. Here's the thing. Christmas is my least favorite C word, and Olive the Reindeer are the two things I think are funny.
All of the other reindeer, it's like, for me, it's a bummer because I know that's a joke that's already been done before.
Yeah.
But the joke of, man, that Olive was an asshole, that's kind of, it's almost something. I'll give it that.
It needed to be restructured to be an actually good joke.
Yes.
But the bones were there.
Yeah. The idea was almost there, and it's the one time where he's kind of selling goofy teen boy energy. Yeah. That felt like a person and not just like a screenwriter asked me to do this thing. Hollywood Ending, really subpar High School Musical shit. It's really bad. And it's covering so much of the same ground as the previous song. It's slightly better, but anything slightly better. Also, Breakaway, with the thing in the locker room where he gets sharpened on his face, did you also think he was coded as gay at first?
Vaguely, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the opening scene in the car, like, he's kind of the quirky male best friend. He's wearing a flamboyant sweater when everyone else is dressed in normal street clothes. Like, he feels sort of weird and isolated in a locker room. Like, I really was like, all right, he's the gay best friend. He's in the closet. That's why you feel isolated. I'm like, oh no, he's just friend zone guy.
Yeah.
I
think it's one of those things we're just so used to those like markers
Yeah.
with a gay character in cinema.
And sometimes I'm always just kind of looking for a queer reading of different things. And sometimes I'm just looking for mirages in a desert. Though this movie does have an actively gay character, and
it does, yeah.
But her homosexuality doesn't really have anything to do with anything.
It doesn't.
Besides the fact that she's the only gay girl in the class, and that makes her an outsider.
The fact that she is gay is nothing to do with like her character at all. It's like just a thing they can say in 3 sentences.
Yeah.
Where we never see her actively with her girlfriend. She just mentioned she has a girlfriend.
A girlfriend, yeah.
Yeah. It's having a gay character doing any of the kind of work to like show any kind of representation of a gay person.
Yeah.
Or have their
like
sexuality
a
be an active
proper
part
inner
of the story.
life.
Yes.
Yeah. It's that time of year, the song where she's horny for Santa.
Yeah, good song.
Here's the thing. It's not that great of a song, but at least it's something.
Yeah.
Turning my life around. This sequence where it's like they're kind of copying the Shaun of the Dead long shot where he's going on the same routine that you saw 10 minutes earlier, but now everything's zombified. Where I like the idea, she has her headphones in, she's dancing around. I don't know why she's suddenly in a good mood today as in comparison to yesterday. Not much has changed since yesterday, besides, I don't know, a woman she worked with has gotten concussed by her friend. But I don't understand why it's this upbeat. Like this should, but like this, this is the energy that I feel like the movie should have, where it's the dichotomy of like the literal zombie apocalypse is happening, but I have a song in my heart, and that she's sort of oblivious to everything that's happening around her. At least it's a joke, and it has like an energy, and it probably should have been the opening number of the movie. This probably should have been the tone setter of the entire movie, and instead it almost feels out of tune with the other songs that have preceded it. And granted, it's a better song. I couldn't hum a bar of it to you now. It doesn't really stay with you, but at least it has an energy. Unfortunately, the only song that's memorable is that rancid Hollywood ending song, because that hook of "None of the Hollywood ending" just has that poppy, like, it just gets lodged in there.
Yeah. Soldier at War, like I had like some of it in my head. But
at least I remember the energy of it. That sequence is so poorly staged. Yeah. I don't know who this director is, but again, small budget, limited time, don't really have it's hard to do. Like when the standard is something like Singing in the Rain or White Christmas, where they had all these months and months and months to prepare and do these really elaborate numbers. Like musicals are so hard to do on a low budget, because the one thing you really need to do a musical well is time and preparation, and time and preparation takes money, and most independent films cannot afford rehearsals, really. But that being said, it's just like the blocking of it is so stilted, and like it does not have a natural sort of propulsive energy. And where he stages the camera around the blocking, it really just feels like coverage.
The guy's name is John McPhail, and apparently he's working on a Lady Macbeth musical right now.
All right. What's interesting is that and we'll talk more about the screenwriter later, because I have a bit of trivia about him.
Yeah.
But this is based on his short film, just called Zombie Musical. Probably could have taken a couple of passes.
Well, he was inspired by High School Musical I was reading, and that's why it's called Zombie Musical. But yeah. Okay,
but still, you could probably Zombie School Musical. Like let's not just do 2 words that describe the genres. This kind of explains his sense of humor that led to the jokes in this movie. Though I'll get to it. He had one bit that was a truly inspired bit, and we'll talk about it. Turning my life around. At least this is the energy I feel like this movie should be operating at, and it so rarely does. Good zombie acting from the extras. Like I like the guy who was in the all yellow sort of like police reflective thing. Human Voice, one of the worst songs I've ever fucking heard in my entire life. It has nothing to do with what's happening in the plot in that moment. Soldier at War, it has an energy.
Yeah, it's catchy.
It's the right type of song for that character at that moment, and it's actually fucking about the zombie apocalypse. Like we know what this character's perspective on the zombie apocalypse, particularly, not being a teen in a stressful situation is.
Yeah.
Which you can get from any one of these High School Musical type things. Like I feel like tonally this should fit like Heathers the musical, which Heathers is just like it's about being in high school, but the high stakes of being in high school. But you also have the heightened element of murder, and it acknowledges the fact that there was murder and macabre things happening, where this movie rarely does. Nothing's Gonna Stop Me. Really subpar lyrically.
Yeah.
Paul Kaye is at least going for it.
Yes.
It is kind of crazy, not to loop back to this movie is not Shaun of the Dead. It's kind of crazy that the most famous scene in Shaun of the Dead is a semi-musical sequence of them beating up zombies to Queen's Nothing's Gonna Stop Me Now. And then that this is a musical where the main characters are being attacked by zombies and the song's called Nothing's Gonna Stop Me. Interesting choice.
Yeah, that's kind of together, yeah.
It's either they weren't self-aware at all or they just didn't care.
Well, if you read like about the movie, he says it was inspired by High School Musical and Shaun of the Dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that was intentional or not.
I don't think it works. If it's supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek gag, it's not very funny. It's just kind of a weird choice. It was distracting more than anything. Give them a show. It almost works.
Yeah, it's our hero number.
It almost works. It would make more sense if she was a theater nerd.
Yes.
It like there's all these sort of musical theater references because it is a musical, but they don't know it's a musical. There's like White Christmas is surprisingly a very rare diegetic musical. All the numbers are happening in real life because these people are performers. It's not like something emotional is happening and we're just going to break out into song. But Anna and the Apocalypse is a more traditional in this modern style. It's just like part of the reality is that sometimes we sing.
Yeah.
And give them a show. If she was like she was like maybe she's like the stage manager and she always wanted to be on stage but she was too nervous, and like now this is her really like when everything else in her life has gone to shit, like this is her moment to really own who she is, and she's going to give the world a show. All the world's a stage and we are but its players. Like that would actually make sense if this character had really any connection to like performing, which she doesn't. I mean, the headmaster is kind of a stage mom, apparently, and he's very particular about this Christmas talent review. Yeah. Yet he didn't know about the Horny Santa song. It almost works. It just doesn't quite. And again, it's just like the song is like a C+ at best. Like really, none of these songs are particularly great, except for I Will Believe. Pretty good song. Kind of McCartney-esque in its structure.
Right,
I was digging it.
Which one's I Will Believe?
It's the last.
Oh, it's the last song. Yeah,
it's the last song. It's the last song.
The one that made me cry.
And I get. It almost works. It's like this movie is so dour in a way that I feel like the zombie Christmas High School Musical shouldn't be. Like this movie should be more joyous in the ridiculousness in its existence, and it so little is. But I Will Believe is the one sort of time where it's just like, and it fits for the ending. It was like, and let's really sink in the emotional reality of this, that our life is forever changed. Everyone we know is fucking dead. And the best we can do is survive. And I think lyrically it's the best. I mean, it's like a B+. It's not great. It sounds like if a 17-year-old wrote that song, and I'm like, wow, that's really impressive for a 17-year-old. Which I know is sort of this very backhanded compliment, but at least like the thing works. And it's just like, and that works perfectly for the ending. Unfortunately, it bookends a mile of crap that is not as good as it. So it's just like, it's kind of too little too late on this one.
Yeah, I wish I disagree. I don't know why I liked it so much a year ago. I guess this wasn't 2 years ago now. Wow. I forget the pandemic's been 2 years. That's the crazy part of it all.
It's just the pandemic didn't happen. It was a wash. We're all a year younger than we are.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell you. Yeah. I'm curious what the one good bit is for you, like what the one good joke is.
It was all. I guess it was like kind of all of the other reindeer.
Oh, okay.
Oh no! The really inspired bit that the screenwriter has nothing to do with this movie.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay.
Do we want to just talk about this movie? There was another co-writer. This movie was, but one of the screenwriters is a guy named Ryan McHenry. He directed the short film that it's based on. He passed away in 2015. I don't think he even really got to see this movie get like shot even.
No.
But yeah, it's the entire basis on is this thing. His outside of this movie, his biggest claim to fame is Ryan Gosling refuses to eat cereal. That vine is him. It's him, which is a top tier bit. Is an amazing bit. Yeah, that's this guy is Ryan Gosling refuses to eat cereal.
Guy.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah. Which that blew my mind when I read that.
And obviously, like Ryan, once he passed away, and like Ryan did the bit where he actually ate the cereal.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did not know it was that guy.
I love that we're both getting emotional about a vine right now.
Yeah, it's a great.
And vine. I love that 6-second vine has more emotional meaning to us than this 98-minute movie.
Yeah.
That like hundreds of people worked on.
Oh, I guess that's why that Ryan Gosling joke is in the movie then too.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Apocalypse, man. Bad musical. Bad zombie movie.
It's a bad musical.
It's somewhat okay Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was like, it was just like, I'm so rarely like properly disappointed in a movie. Because usually I have a good idea of what a movie's going to be when I'm going into it. But like, out of all the people I follow on my letterbox, I am the lowest. Like,
really?
You really liked it the first time. Shelby really likes this movie. So many critics that I like and admire and respect their opinions. Like they really like this movie. And it was like so instantly it lost me and it never won me back. With a couple of minor moments here and there, but it's just I was bummed. I was really disappointed.
I end the whole. It's fine. It's completely fine to me. It's like where I kind of end my like emotional journey with this movie. The first time I've read my letterbox tree, which I've amended since then, but I was like, some character motivations aren't great and some songs don't work. But other than that, it's really solid.
Mm-hmm.
Going back, it's like, oh, none of the character motivations work, and only like 1.5 songs works.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't hit nearly as hard as it did 2 years ago. I don't know, man. Also, I think I did buy into the hype 2 years ago too.
Yeah.
I think I going in, I was like, this thing's going to be great. So when I finished it, I was like, oh, it's not great, but it's really good.
Yeah, I feel like I wonder the difference for you in particular, and I've only seen this now post-pandemic, but the difference of December 2019 versus the difference of December 2021, where we've kind of, in a much smaller scale, lived the events of this movie.
Yeah.
I wonder if there were certain things where like people just kind of did whatever they wanted anyway. Like there were certain things that really rang true, and there was other things where it's just like, hey man, I've been there, and that's not what it feels like at all. I wasn't concerned about Twitter. Well, I was concerned about Twitter during the pandemic, but for very different reasons.
Yeah.
I was concerned about Twitter because it was my only form of contact with people. It sure wasn't.
We should have talked about Daddy's Home.
No, I'm glad we talked about this. I feel like we have more to talk about this. Plus,
yeah, that's true.
After we should really avoid problematic men.
Oh, Melly B or Melly G,
yeah.
Melly G and Marky Mark, but
no. In some, it's kind of perfect casting when you really think about it. In a certain way, it's kind of perfect casting.
He is great in that movie. Both him and I was referring to Mel, but Mark is also great.
Oh, Mark Wahlberg's great in both of Daddy's Homes. He's amazing.
It's the joke I talk all about the time. He can't fit the suitcase in the car, so he just throws it in the tree, and then they get to the cabin, and Will Ferrell's just like, has anyone seen my bag?
That's my dad's favorite joke, too.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. I feel like that says a lot about both me and your father.
Dude, Emily's full of bangers.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining us on Radio Rialto.
Yeah.
Connor, it's always good to see you. I've had a great time chit-chatting.
Good to see you too, Steve. I'm excited to talk about movies I like more, hopefully next time. Okay, now I am rolling.
Oh, gorgeous. Beautiful. I wouldn't have it any other way. All right. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2,
2,
1.
1. How was that for you?
That was like right on the money for me.
I was so far ahead of you.
Okay. Well, one of us is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Okay, also, we should talk about the new Home Sweet Home Alone, baby.
Oh, I've avoided that like the plague. I don't like the first Home Alone.
No, Home Sweet Home Alone, I had, like, Erica literally gave me, like, a repulsed face when I said that, because we despise that movie.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Home Sweet Home Alone is a dumpster fire.
Poor JoJo.
Yeah, poor Jojo Rabbit kid. Poor Yorkie.
Yorkie, that's it, because he's not JoJo, the main kid.
No, yeah, he's Yorkie.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's just like it came a little too late because watching the trailers and I'm like, he's a year and a half older and he's not cute anymore.
No,
it's really that's the difference that a year and a half can make for a kid because he's prime cute in JoJo.
They made the most likable child actor on the planet the most despicable human being on earth.
Yeah, all the Home Alone. Because you know what the weird thing is? The Home Alone I saw the most as a kid was Home Alone 3.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen Home Alone 3 probably 24, 30 times just because it was on cable all the time. And that one's not a Christmas movie, so it can play year round. It's still set like during winter, but it's not explicitly a Christmas movie like the first two. Whereas the first two, I watched them a lot as a kid, but they were like only on at Christmas. So like as I got older, I realized like I really don't like the first two that much. I don't think Macaulay Culkin's a bad actor. He's so fucking wooden in those, and they're like it's as I get older, the John Hughes sense of humor. Though he still has some movies I really love, like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it's just so nasty.
Yeah.
He has such contempt for people that are not, like, white and upper middle class.
No, dude, not on a tangent of Home Sweet Home Alone. The thing is, the villains of Home Sweet Home Alone are just this middle-class family who thinks this kid stole something incredibly, like, important from them, and that's why they break into his home.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing them be, like, put through, like, this torture, you don't feel vindicated or, like, joyful in the violence. You feel fucking terrible.
God. Isn't Ellie Kemper one of the villains, too?
It's Ellie Kemper and Rob Delaney are the two villains.
Okay, and, like, Pete Holmes is, like, his goofy uncle or something?
Yeah, who's in, like, 2 scenes, yeah.
He's only in 2 scenes?
Yeah, pretty much.
And one of the reasons I would have watched the movie is for Pete Holmes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're not
talking about Home Sweet Home Alone.
We're keeping it in. We're keeping all that in.
Are we?
No.
It's just not compelling.
Me shaking my head?
I'm trying to get my hair to look less bowl cutty. So like my constant issue.
Mine's getting pretty bad.
Apparently, I saw a TikTok today where apparently people do not like Jeremy Strong on the set of Succession.
Have you read that profile?
No, I haven't. I've just
it's
heard
a TikTok
about it.
It's not that they don't like him. It's that they don't get him. He's just really intense. He's just like, it's the fucking, like, the bullshit where it's like, he was in the goddamn trial of Chicago 7. He's like, I need to be tear gassed for that terrible performance. But it's just like, here's the thing. Because I've been watching a lot of Succession because I'm trying to impress a cute girl. And it's that character, like, everyone else in that show realizes that it's a dark comedy. And he is playing it like it's Hamlet. But that does fit that character who is so out of touch of reality. There was a story in that profile. Kieran Culkin tells a story to the interviewer. He was like, "Yeah, I remember during the second or third episode of the first season, I was talking to Jeremy, and he's like, I'm just really concerned that people are going to think the show is a comedy." And then Kieran was just like, "I think it is a comedy." And Jeremy Strong just kind of looked at it and he was processing it, and he tried to process for a second. He's like, "You mean in the sense that like Chekhov is comedy?" Like that's Jeremy Strong. I was like, and then after that article came out, people were like sharing clips from interviews with him, and the most insane, The Judge, one of the worst fucking movies I've ever seen. He plays like Robert Downey Jr.'s like slow younger brother in it, like kind of a Rain Man-esque performance. It's relatively tasteful as far as these things go, but it's like it is what it is. And he was talking about there was this scene where they're watching old fucking family movies and like they have a dead mom their brothers have a dead mom, and he was talking about it was like, and we were doing coverage, and this scene was a long scene, so it took like 2 days, and I knew we weren't going to get to my end of the coverage until the second day. So, when we were shooting, I purposely kept myself away from the other actors. And while we were shooting the scene, I had personal items on me. I went around my hometown, and I picked up a rock from a creek that I used to sit by as a kid. And I took this photo of my mother, and it was a photo of my mother holding me as a baby. And I don't have many photos of me and my mother. And I was when I knew we were about to get to my scene, about to get to my shot and the coverage of the scene, I said, it was like, I'm just going to step aside for a couple of minutes. And I sort of gathered myself, and I was looking at this photo of my mother, and I knew it was the only one I had, and I tore the photo in half. And then I was ready. And I'm like, Jeremy, I've seen The Judge. It's not worth it. All that, it's not worth it. Just like the tear gas was it's not worth it. But yeah, he's just like, he is like that level. Like the profile opens, it was like, Jeremy Strong grew up in a working class family in a suburban town in western Massachusetts. And in his high school bedroom, he had 3 posters on this wall: Daniel Day-Lewis, My Left Foot, Al Pacino, Dog Day Afternoon, and Dustin Hoffman in Rain Man. And that tells you everything you need to know about that fucking guy.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, I want to watch The Judge now just because I want to see that one scene.
Yeah, I don't even remember that scene. The scene I mainly remember him. He has like a emotional breakdown in a hospital. Like he has like a somewhat of a because like it's actually pretty good brother casting, because like Robert Downey Jr. is the middle brother, Jeremy Strong's the slow younger brother, and Vincent D'Onofrio's the disappointed older brother. Even though I think Vincent D'Onofrio is like 10 years younger than Robert Downey Jr. Here's the thing, The Judge has a really good cast. It's just absolute dog shit.
Yeah, I'll have to watch this movie, man.
I love the emotional roller coaster I just put you through, just talking about Jeremy Strong. By the way, did I do a pretty good Jeremy Strong impression?
It was pretty good, yeah.
He has like a very specific like New York actor.
I can't fucking believe it seems like satire.
Yeah.
Like tell us like
no,
here
he
the
seems like
one photo he had of his mom.
Of his mom. Yeah. He seems like a parody of a method actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think he's like a nightmare in the way that.
No.
I think he's just very particular.
I think he's just very intense.
He's just very intense. Which honestly was just like, I can't give the guy shit for taking his job seriously.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
he's not hurting anybody. Like
it's just like shit, like him tear gassing himself. It was like, okay, you're putting yourself in danger.
It's in danger, and it's like considering what was going on at that time in history, very insensitive.
Yeah.
But like he's not actively hurting someone.
Also, especially once you see that performance, like this does not seem like a person who's been tear
gassed. Yeah.
It did not translate, Jeremy. I hate to say it. That's the biggest joke of it. Is that he might as well be playing fucking Goofus and Gallant in that movie. Yeah, I haven't heard like he doesn't like throw chairs at people or have tantrums.
No.
But again, it was just like you hear all these stories and I'm like, yeah, that kind of sounds like Kendall. That sounds like Kendall Roy.
I need to watch that show.
I don't love it. I think it's really good. I just don't. And it's not even...
Does Pretty Girl love it? Is that why you're diving into it?
Yeah, she loves it. It's like her favorite show. It's like it's really well written, and like the actors are great. And it's not even like my parents watched it. It was like nobody's likable, and I'm like, well, that's kind of the point. But at the same time, it's just like, you know me. I have a problem with hour-long prestige TV. You're just asking a lot out of me as an audience member to dedicate 10 hours to this. It was just like, this is really, really, really good, but it's not great enough that I really want to keep watching it.
Yeah.
It's not. It's really not watchable in the way that I need TV to be watchable. Despite the fact it is a it's just like there's a frequency that it's on that some people eat like popcorn, and it's just like, I don't know. I can't vibe with it. But it is good. It is quite good, and all the acting is fucking exceptional.
I'll get around to it eventually.
And everyone's hot except Jeremy Strong. I do.
Kieran Culkin is oddly attractive.
Oh, and in this show especially. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has a relation, which I haven't really gotten to their prime stuff, but him and the J. Smith Cameron have a very particular chemistry, which I am all about.
You're a goofy guy.
I should add my Jeremy Strong impression to my repertoire. I feel like I could really crack it with some practice.
Yeah. Just tear gas yourself. You'll be right there.
I have to tear a photo of me and my mother. It's the only one I have. I have to get rid of all other photos of me and my mother.
Just to prep to tear that one.
Yeah. Yeah, and I tell my mom we can't take any more photos together. I'm sorry. Which wouldn't be that much of a stretch. We both hate getting our... Yeah, you should read the profile. It's insane.
Yeah, I'll probably get around to it.
Which Jessica Chastain made a tweet saying it was Jeremy Strong. I know Jeremy Strong. He's one a very dear friend. He's one of the best actors I've ever worked with. I don't know what they did together. And it was this profile is very one-sided. And I'm I don't think the profile is dunking on him. I think it's very honest, and I feel he was very open. I feel if I was Jeremy, knowing how the impression I get from Jeremy Strong in this profile, if I was Jeremy Strong reading this article, I'd be no notes.
Yeah, are the articles are just how she defended him? I'm trying to find out what they did together. Is he in Zero Dark 30?
Maybe. That seems like something.
Oh, I think he's also in Molly's Game.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, apparently he's in Zero Dark 30 in Molly's Game.
Okay.
Which makes sense. I did not remember him in Molly's Game. Which that's bad, but... Oh,
I think a very small part.
I think he's FBI guy in Molly's Game.
No, that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
Oh, no. He's one of the players.
That also checks it. He's kind of versatile in a very specific way. Not an actor I love, but he does have a place.
He does. Yeah, I should wrap up because we're going to watch Eloise at Christmas time tonight is the plan.
Was that a...
It's a Disney Channel. Not
was
Disney
it
Channel,
a Disney
Disney
Channel?
movie. Yeah, Disney movie, yeah.
Yeah.
It's one Erica loves from her childhood that we found on Amazon for $6.
Is that on the Plus? Or no, you're renting it?
We bought it on DVD.
Oh, okay.
It's nowhere else.
Oh, interesting.
Literally, it's only a DVD.
It might be a thing where Disney doesn't have the rights to the books anymore, and
who knows, man?
they can't stream it. I don't know why, when you said we bought it on DVD, I read it in a tone of we bought a zoo. Which, man, you being off Twitter, you're missing out on some prime we bought a zoo memes.
Am I? Yeah.
I don't know why. Actually, this year's the 10-year anniversary. Maybe that's it. Maybe. Christmas 2011, we bought a zoo.
No, I saw The House of Gooch yesterday.
Yeah.
And good movie. And that Matt Damon ad came on. My dad's like, what is cryptocurrency?
Yeah.
And I had to explain him what
Did
crypto
you also
was.
get it sandwiched in between trailers?
Yeah.
So weird. So weird that it's sandwiched. And every time, at first I'm does Cinemark have their own, Nicole Kidman at AMC ads? Why aren't those playing on TV? Why are those at movie theater? It drives me fucking crazy. One of the reasons
you and John Campia both are beating that drum.
Because every time I'm at the theater, you don't have to sell me.
Steven, literally you're repeating his exact thing I heard earlier today from John Campia.
Listen, I hate John Campia, but a broken clock's right twice a day.
He's I'm at AMC. Stop trying to get me to come to AMC.
It's it's my problem with IMAX as well, is that every time it was IMAX, the ultimate masturbatory thing was I'm sitting in the theater, I just want the movie to start.
They're trying to hype you up.
Because IMAX has 3 of them. They'll do 3 in a row. They'll have the one where it's all the... You're going through the different things, which I like that. I like that one because the gimmick of you're going through the different frames is at least cool. But then it's and then it's the countdown. It was you're not just watching a movie, you're living it. I'm I get it. Your movie's loud.
Never seen something in IMAX.
I said there's not a ton in Indiana, man. I don't know what to tell you.
There's one.
Yeah.
I just got to make the trip.
Yeah. My mom said it was are your roommates going either? And I'm well, I didn't talk about it with them, and I doubt there's really an IMAX near Connor.
Yeah. What are you seeing in IMAX?
I saw Matrix in IMAX.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, which was a crazy experience.
I'm sure, yeah.
I almost cried at the end of the Trinity chase in the beginning.
Really?
Which it was just movies are so good, man. Yeah. No, it's insane because some of the CG obviously doesn't hold up because it's 22 years old, and also that movie, for what it fucking accomplishes, it was actually relatively low budget. But it's insane how good that movie still fucking looks. Bill Pope, man, how he hasn't won like 12 Oscars by now is beyond me. It's also, that movie's crazy. It shouldn't work, and it just does. It works on pretty much every level.
You excited for Resurrections?
Oh, I'm so excited for Resurrections, but I need to watch the other two first.
As do I, yeah.
Yeah, I have the fucking set right there. I need a marathon through them, which was why I was just like, I'm really, like, if I'm gonna rewatch the first one, I'm happy doing it in a theater. Which here's the thing, my thing with IMAX, it was like, IMAX is cool to see a screen, like, something on a screen, but there's very few movies that actually use IMAX well. Like, the trailer for No Way Home played before Matrix, and it was one of the few trailers that actually was in IMAX format, because Matrix is in scope, so it's just like, it's still in scope, and so like it's not filling up the entire screen. And I'm just like, more picture does not automatically equal better. There's very few filmmakers who actually know how to use IMAX. And my other thing about IMAX is just like, it's like, I get it, you want it loud, but it's so loud. And it's just like kind of oppressive at times. It was like, an example was like Dunkirk. When I saw Dunkirk in IMAX, and I literally thought I was being shot at, because a lot of that movie is like relatively quiet. And then when the gunfire happens, it means something.
Yeah.
But so many of these movies are just, it's just cacophony surrounding you. Anyway, thank you for joining us on Radio Rialto.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like, that was like the one benefit of like having Mondays, Tuesdays off, is that like Tuesday I was like, I could just stroll into a movie theater, pick whatever seat I want. Oh, fuck it, I'll see Eternals for $6.
Yeah, that's why I saw House of Gucci at 11:40 a.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah. I love the Gooch. Pacino.
Pacino's good.
Pacino's so good in that movie.
I walk away the most impressed by Driver.
Yeah,
he's
the guy of his generation.
Yeah,
I think the guy's kind of incapable of giving a bad performance.
That's true.
He's yet to, like, even in fucking Gaby, wasn't he good?
He's good in Gaby.
Was there a, like, in your Driver quest, was there a single time that he was bad?
No, I guess
seen
no.
Everything.
No, other than Last Duel, ironically enough. Yeah, I've seen everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's not great in Bluebird. But like, he's not very good in J. Edgar. In J. Edgar, he's in one scene, he's a gas station attendant, and he's playing a cartoon. Like, he has like the thickest New York accent. He's like, whoa, he was out here, I didn't fucking see him.
That sounds amazing.
Here's the thing, I want to make a list where it's like Adam Driver performances that I'm convinced are played by a character in Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that, because like people say Matt LeBlanc's performance in Lost in Space seems like a performance by Joey Tribbiani.
Yeah.
J. Edgar predates Girls, though, right? Just by
like
a year.
Yeah, it's just like, but like that. Oh fuck.
Man, Eastwood got him early.
Yeah, that Gaby, and arguably Lincoln. I thought like the performances by that guy. Oh, and same thing with the movie that you didn't like that I liked.
This is Where I Leave You. I was just about to say,
This is Where I Leave You
is more like Girls. I don't think Lincoln. He's really in the pocket in Lincoln.
In Lincoln, but it feels it's small enough where it feels like that's a part where Adam Sackler just like got his shit together.
Okay.
And like did it. Like he's like, it's Spielberg. I gotta behave.
Yeah. Man. I don't think we'll see a cast as stacked as Lincoln ever again.
Probably not. I mean,
granted, it's all men except for Sally Field and what's her name, the great actress who plays Tommy Lee Jones's lover.
Oh fuck, I don't remember.
Yeah,